Yeah, my research is about how the voluntary sector, so that's social enterprises, charities, community groups and the like, how they work with the NHS. Not everyone knows that the NHS grew out of voluntary sector provision in the 1940s, and today the voluntary sector delivers billions of pounds of services under contract with the NHS, as well as contributing in lots of different ways in different communities around the country. I was really interested in looking at one particular pilot project called Wellbeing Erewash. Erewash is in Derbyshire in England, and I worked alongside a voluntary sector organisation called Erewash Voluntary Action for the final 12 months of that project to really look at how they worked in it, whether they were able to enact a leadership role, and really just get an idea of what their contribution was and how the project worked. So I came to the OU because they have the Centre for Voluntary Sector Leadership, which is based in the Open University Business School. And that's a specific centre that looks at the voluntary sector and does research on the sector, particularly looking at smaller organisations. So that was a great pull for me to be involved at the OU. So there's a lot of information here about the things that I was doing on a day-to-day basis when I was collecting my data as part of the project. And one of the main things was the ID badge that I got when I was a part of the organisation, Erewash Voluntary Action. And it was quite important to me to become a proper member of that organisation and to work alongside the people who work there every day. So they saw me as a colleague more than just someone who was coming in as a researcher and then disappearing again. One of the other things was the newsletters that they produced. That contained a lot of information about how the project really saw the voluntary sector. And I used all this kind of stuff as my data, but as well as actually contributing to it in practice. So, I wrote an article in here which was about my research, and just let people know in the project what I was doing, why I was there, and why I'd be hanging around the meetings that they were in, just to sort of reassure people a little bit that I was there in a legitimate sense. That was quite important as well. I found that the new care models policy that informed the project that I was looking at really talked about the voluntary sector and volunteers as key partners and enablers in doing some of this work. But I found in reality that the voluntary sector were restricted a bit to certain areas that the NHS felt they should contribute to, rather than contributing in an holistic way to the whole project. And also they were not really involved in some of the key decision-making processes, particularly around funding the project and sustainability moving forward. Well, being able to do some research on something that I had direct experience of and that I had an interest in was really great, and something I didn't really think I'd get the opportunity to do. Obviously doing it in an environment like the Open University where there are lots of inspirational stories of learning and achievement was great as well, and it's not hard to be motivated when you see different people's stories about how they've engaged with the OU and the support that they've had. I'm not necessarily looking for an academic career out of doing my PhD. I'm really more interested in trying to take some of the learning from it and applying it into practice. And that's what my background is, and it's what I'd quite like to go on to do. And I think there's a lot of knowledge and expertise in both academia and in practice about some of the subjects that I've been looking at. And so to combine those and act as a bit of a bridge, I suppose, would be great from my point of view. So I'd like to, moving forward, do a bit of both, really.